A Ghost in the Opera. Fanfiction written by ChatDuNoir. Chapter 1. Overture. "Welcome to the Opera Garnier, Miss Swan," Melina Drake said as she made a grand gesture with her hand. 17-year-old Emma Swan looked up at the building in awe. She could hardly believe what she was actually here. The Opera Garnier. The Paris Opera. She was officially a member of the ensemble. Well, for now. 6-month trial time to see how she fitted in, but still, she had done nothing but working hard for this. To sing and make sure that the right people noticed her. And now it had finally happened. She had participated in every single elimination round and was now officially a member of the choir here at the Opera Garnier. She thought fondly about her parents back home in Maine, who had been there with her every step of the way. She knew how proud they were of her, and she would continue to make them proud. She would dedicate herself to singing, think only of singing, and not get into any trouble whatsoever. A little sigh escaped her as she tipped her head back and looked up at the impressive building. "Take it all in, Miss Swan," Melina chuckled. "I know it's impressive the first time." "It's amazing," Emma blurted out, and could feel how she blushed a little. She nervously adjusted her glasses. Perhaps she was gangly and socially awkward when interacting with people, but when she was singing on stage, everything changed. Emma had been obsessed with singing ever since she was a little girl. Singing was all she thought about when she lived and breathed for, and now she was here, in Paris, at the opera, to attend a summer school and get even better at what she loved. It seemed like a dream come true. "Follow me, Miss Swan," Melina said. She was the talent scout who had spotted Emma singing in New York and had offered her a chance to become a part of the choir here in Paris. She knew talent when she saw it, and it hadn't taken her long to convince Emma's parents that Emma, of course, had to come to Paris. This was the chance of a lifetime. Opera Garnier. Yes, Emma was somewhat younger than the other members in the choir were, but that didn't matter, Melina said. Talent went above age. She had been so nice to Emma, had picked her up in the airport and driven her straight to the opera and assured the blonde to just come to her if she needed anything. Emma couldn't have asked for a better mentor during her stay in Paris. She fidgeted with her glasses again as she followed Melina inside, and she tried to keep her jaw in place as she looked around. It was hard not to get overwhelmed. The Opera Garnier had been Emma's dream for as long as she could remember. She had already sung on many stages before, some of them big, a lot of them small. But singing at the Opera Garnier stage, that belonged in a league of its own for sure. Melina led up to a grand staircase, through a door and down a number of corridors. Emma felt a pang of anxiety. Of her skills in singing she was not unsure, but what about the social part of it? Emma wasn't a people person. She preferred to keep to herself, and participating in conversations was one of the worst things that could happen in her world. She was relieved that she would be having her own room, and even more relieved that it was only temporarily. She would have to look for her own apartment soon. An apartment in Paris. God, it sounded too good to be true. Emma quickly lost count of how many stairs and twisted hallways Melina led her through, but she did know that she would be needing a map to find her way around. She shook her head. Rehearsal started tomorrow. How was she ever supposed to get to know the place in such a short time? It seemed impossible. "Here we are," Melina announced after staircase number 200 or something that felt like it. "This hallway here is known as the choir's quarters. No entrance unless you're part of the choir." Emma looked around in the hallway, looked at the line of doors. Behind one of those doors was her new room, her new life. Emma's heart started thudding again. The bathroom is just downstairs and to your left, Melina told her, and she was interrupted when a door was slammed open and a girl, perhaps 1 or 2 years older than Emma, came tumbling down the hallway. She was tall and gangly, and there were red streaks in her brown hair. "Good afternoon, Ruby," Melina said a tad overbearingly, and shook her head. "Oops, sorry," the girl, Ruby, said sheepishly. "I didn't know you were here. Well, as you can see, I am, so I would advise you not to run," Melina said strictly. "Sorry," Ruby repeated and glanced at Emma. "New choir singer?" "Yes," Melina said before Emma could get the chance to answer. "This is Emma Swan." "Oh," Ruby grinned. "You're the girl from Maine, the one who sang in New York and impressed Melina so much she had to get you even though you're not that—" "Thank you, Ruby. That's quite enough," Melina said strictly. "We don't have time to chit-chat right now. Emma had a long journey and her suitcase is heavy." "Of course. Do you want me to show you to your room?" Ruby asked good naturally. "I'll be showing Emma her room, but you may keep us company if you wish to and help her get settled in," Melina said graciously. "I'd like that," Ruby smiled. "Been a while since a new choir singer joined us." She stuck her hand out toward Emma. "Hi, I'm Ruby Lucas. I'm in the choir too." Emma set her suitcase down and accepted the handshake, even though her palm was sweaty. She hoped Ruby wouldn't notice it. "Emma Swan, it's nice to meet you." "It's nice to meet you too," Ruby grinned. "I'm looking forward to singing with you. I saw the video of you singing in New York. Your voice is I said enough chit-chat, Ruby," Melina scolded. "Rehearsal starts tomorrow, and Emma needs some time to get settled in. There will be plenty of time to talk later. Now, follow me." Emma grabbed a firm hold of her suitcase again and half stumbled after Melina down the hallway. They didn't walk very far. Just a few doors down. "Hey, that's not too far from my room," Ruby chirped behind them, but Emma was sure she heard something in the brunette's voice when she continued, "But that's not—" "Yes, here we are. 815. This will be your new room," Melina interrupted. "I'm afraid it's not very big, but I do hope it'll do." "Oh, I'm sure it will," Emma said hastily and toyed with her blonde ponytail. It was going frizzy. "I don't take up that much space." Melina flashed her a smile and placed a large and surprisingly heavy key in Emma's free hand. "There we are. Your very own key. Are you ready to take a look, Miss Swan?" "Oh, yes," it bursted out of Emma, and she dropped her suitcase on the floor with a thunk in her eagerness to unlock the door. Melina chuckled richly and took a step back to give Emma some room. Emma fumbled a bit to insert the key in the lock. Her palms were sweaty, and her excitement made it all the more difficult. But after a moment she succeeded in unlocking the door. And it swung open with a loud creak. Emma grabbed her suitcase and went inside. She stumbled slightly over the high threshold and had to support herself by putting a hand on the wall. She regained balance and straightened her posture. Finally, she could take the very first look at her new room. Melina was right. It wasn't that big, but that was all right. Emma didn't require that much space, really. There was a bed in the corner, a wooden dresser where she could put all of her clothes, and a little bedside table. But what really caught her eye was the large, full-figure mirror that covered one wall. Emma thought to herself that it was a beautiful mirror. "Well, how do you like your new room, Miss Swan?" Melina asked briskly as she looked over Emma's shoulder. "It's very nice," Emma assured and meant it. Yes, she would be happy here. How could she be anything but here at Opera Garnier? This was everything she'd ever dreamed of. "Excellent. I'm very happy that you like it. Do you think you'll feel at home here? I know it's an enormous change from Maine." Emma laughed a little. "It sure is. But it's perfect. This is everything I could ever ask for. But this is Christine's old room, Ruby piped up behind Melina. Christine? Emma echoed and frowned in confusion. Who's Christine? The girl who lived in this room before you. But she doesn't anymore, however, so there's no problem. Melina dismissed and gave Ruby a warning look. Emma's curiosity was immediately roused, but she wasn't so dumb she was gonna ask more about it now. Given how Melina had just brushed off Ruby, that would clearly be a bad idea. I like the room, she said to change the subject, and put on a smile for Melina. Melina returned the smile. I live just 2 doors down, Ruby interjected. 813. Come into my room when you're unpacked. I think it would be nice to get to know each other, don't you? You can meet some of the other girls, too. And with that, she scurried down the hallway as fast as she had appeared. Ruby's a nice girl, Melina said and chuckled a bit as she looked after the young brunette. She'll soon make you feel at home here. She seems very sweet, Emma said quickly. She was eager to fit in and make the most of her 6 months here. I'll leave you to unpack and check up on you later, all right? Melina said after having glanced at her watch. If you need anything, I'll be right downstairs. All right, Emma said and smiled even though she had no idea what right downstairs meant. When it came to downstairs, there was a million different opportunities to choose from. She had no idea how to find Melina, and she hoped that it wouldn't be required. Melina flashed her one last smile and then took off down the hallway. Emma glanced after her for a few seconds and then she turned her attention back to her brand new room. She closed the door behind her and looked around one more time, dumped her suitcase on the bed and walked over to the mirror. Her reflection looked back at her and Emma cringed a bit. Her ponytail had gone frizzy. Her glasses were greasy. Her mascara was a bit smudged. Her cheeks had reddened in the way they always did when she was stressed, and her green eyes were entirely too big. She could definitely need to freshen up a bit. She reached back and undid her ponytail. Golden trend roots spilled down her shoulders, and Emma ran 2 fingers through her hair. It felt greasy from traveling. Maybe she would take a quick shower before knocking on Ruby's door. She turned around and went over to the bed and opened the suitcase. First, she had to unpack. Everything else would have to wait. Unpack and get settled. And then text her parents to let them know she had arrived in one piece. She had promised them that. She systematically began to carefully put her neatly folded clothes away in the wooden dresser. Now and then she looked up, looked towards her mirror, and smiled at her reflection. This was the start of something new and exciting. She could just feel it. To be continued.